I appreciate to hear your political views and what your plans are about the future. Basically, future of us and future of our next generation. Basically. Yeah. Up to you.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. How you guys doing? Anyway, so a lot of people, they talk about evil. They said it hides in the shadows and the darkness. But in reality, evil shines bright for us all to see. And people are afraid to look at it because if they look at it, they have to acknowledge it, do something about it. Well, I'm doing something about it, running for Congress and putting myself out there. And I do believe being in Congress can be fairly easy. I'll go to Congress and I'll vote no. No to AIPAC, no to Israel, and no to war. That's simple. And so anyway, my name is Mark Nugent, candidate for Congress, Texas 3rd District. My background is 20 years U.S. Army, about 10 years in politics, ran for office a few times. I was a city and county commissioner, as well as worked on many campaigns. And we even won for my friend a congressional primary such as this. So that's about it. I don't want to take too long running from my script in my head and just open up the Q&A. And if anyone has any questions for me.
So your district is from, what is the?
It's about 7 counties from about 3/4 of Collin County, Hunt, Delta, Hopkins, Franklin, and Titus and Morris counties, about 820,000 people. So it's really big, really big. Yeah, it's about a 2-hour drive across. And it was into, Frisco, but they redistricted it, which helps us a lot because it gives us 30% new voters that don't have a name ID at the other campaign. And now our opponent, Congressman Keith Self, you guys aware of him? Yeah, that guy, the big difference between me and him is I won't vote to send your money overseas. He does take AIPAC money and he does vote to give Israel, I think, $26 billion a year. He did vote for the Appropriated Act of 2024, giving away about $96 billion of our money. So that's the key difference between us. And the biggest issue in America is the money, and people are hurting and they want the pain to stop. The other big district in our issue is the Marvin Nichols water reservoir situation, in which there's people trying to manipulate the state water board to steal 72,000 acres of land under the guise of a water reservoir, when in reality, they just want to steal the land at $1,200 an acre and develop it for luxury real estate. That's in the eastern counties out there. You've seen that story before, right? That's what's going on. I've met with the key leadership in the eastern counties. They're very supportive of me, all the OCGOP chairs, the county chairs. The Collin County GOP isn't too happy because they used to own the seat. But now with the shift east, their power is diminished and they're kind of irrelevant. Power goes now spread out among 7 counties. And those people I have talked to, they're very friendly. I've talked to the families involved. They're going to lose their land, or the people are trying to steal their land, and they're very supportive of our campaign. Now, we are here for a fundraiser, so that's some good news. We have raised about $15,000 so far today. And see, I'm going to drop something.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's not my fault. So, as I pulled up papers out, I dropped everything. So today, just on the way here, we raised about $15,000. And if you guys know Matt Rostami by any chance?
Yes.
You know his personality. But at the end of the day, he's like, I love you. Here's $3,500 check, and his wife's going to write another one today. So we're going to max out. I think that brings us like $20,000 today. So if you guys also, I know, you can scan the QR code. Max donation is $3,500. Now, fundraising is very important. It's really a measure of a campaign. Congressman Keith Self is the least funded candidate in Congress. He only has $200,000 as a sitting congressman. He really should have $3 or $4 million. We have raised $115,000, $120,000 in a month. So our fundraising capacity is 10, 20 X's. So those are good numbers. Along with, if you have the best message, it's the best message delivered. We already have a phone bank running. We had 1,000 phone calls yesterday. I get the update. And if anyone wants the donor report, I can send that to you as well. I just greenlit $40,000 of mailers to 86,000 households. That'll be going out Monday. Also, the timing is very interesting on those. God's with us on this because Keith Self, they saw us having only $10,000. That was a plan for us. A report at end of December. So they think we have no money. Then they did a poll just a week ago So those poll numbers are going to be skewed, and we're going to invalidate their poll results and their decision making with our mailers that go up Monday.
That's
That mailers? They look really good. So that's where we're at with fundraising. We're doing pretty well. Then tomorrow, Monday, we have another event, and I'm going to meet with fundraisers, donors on Monday, and then we have another one on Tuesday. So I think we'd be 150, 200K next week. So we're going to blow past him, and he's not spending his money. I don't know why. I can only assume he doesn't see us as a threat. So. And then also there is going to be some other things coming out of him, how he betrayed the Muslim community. He took our money. He was in our homes eating our food and now attacking us. And he's probably the most hateful congressman in history. I think the only thing you do next is put on a Klan hood. I don't know. This guy doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. What do you think? He's just acting crazy. But I don't want to ramble on too much. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Have a seat.
Okay, thank you.
Now let's hear from Mayor Ahmed. He is Richardson Mayor, and he's also running for his second term as well. So we'd like to hear from you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you to the hosts for opening your lovely home. I had no idea you guys had it this good over here in Princeton, so that's fantastic. I want to start off by thanking Mark for running. I'm in a nonpartisan seat, so from my perspective, I don't get involved in other campaigns. I don't get involved in congressional or state rep or Republican or Democrat stuff. It just allows me to be able to be a credible nonpartisan mayor. But I will say, first and foremost, anytime someone is willing to step up and volunteer and be willing to put themselves in a campaign situation, that instantly deserves a good amount of credit. The second thing I will say, and I know he mentioned it, but it is really difficult to see people who are already elected, that already represent people, people of all sorts of faiths, willing to say as many hateful things as you've seen out of Congressman Self, who is his opponent. It is really disturbing. You might expect something like that from someone who is desperate. Maybe they don't have a position and they're just trying to make a name for themselves, or maybe they're hoping they can get people to be afraid of other people and therefore be able to elevate themselves. But to see someone who had been a county judge and who had already is a sitting congressman to behave in such a way, it's really disturbing and sad. And I think it takes a lot of courage to be someone who is going to run against someone like that. So I'm thankful, Mark, for your candidacy and the way you've conducted yourself. And I'm hopeful that your strategy is going to pay off. His strategy is not unlike my own when I ran for mayor. I ran against an incumbent, a good man, not someone who has done the kinds of things that Mark's opponent has done. But we started off slowly. We started off in a very grassroots kind of way, just having one coffee and one conversation at a time, one-on-one. And by the time they recognized that we had the kind of following and the kind of strength that we had, it was a little bit too late for them to be able to make adjustments and be able to come after me in a stronger way. And so I've been incredibly proud to be able to serve my community as mayor. As you may know, depending on what you know about my history, in 2009, when I was first elected to city council, it was the first time that any Muslim had won any position anywhere in North Texas. You would have to go as far as Paris, since you said you were going to be a little ways away from Paris in the future. You'd have to go as far as Paris to find anyone who had ever been elected to anything. And even as a council member, I believe he was elected after I had been elected. So it was a unique thing in 2009. And I served in 2009, got reelected in 2011. And in 2013, I attempted to run for mayor. And everything was going incredibly well. I had a good reputation. All the things that they were afraid I was going to do, in all the rumors of what this Muslim was going to do, none of those things, those bad things, happened. And so I was running very strong for the mayoral race. And then the Boston bombing happened. This was in 2013, just before, maybe 2 weeks before early voting started. Which of course took me from being way ahead to immediately way behind. So I've been patient, spent 12 years continuing to build, continuing to do good things in the community, and eventually running for mayor and being successful in Richardson, which again has been incredibly exciting. I will tell you that there have been a lot of surprises, all good. First, during the campaign, I knew that there was some value to what I had done in 2009 through 2013, because I was able to help other candidates, good candidates, non-Muslim and Muslim, run for office credibly and be able to be successful. On the Muslim side, I was very focused on making sure that I was not going to be the last. So whether it was Dr. Hashmi, who ended up running in Paris, whether it was Dr. Shahid Shafi, who ran in Southlake, whether it was Owais Siddiqui, who ran in Murphy, in all three of those cases, I got very involved in coaching and consulting and making sure that whatever I learned from my race, that they could also be successful as well. And so it took a lot of weight off my shoulders to be able to have them be able to be successful, because I didn't have to worry about being the last elected official. When I was running for this particular office, starting around 2024, I was making a habit of watching the council meetings, see if anyone is going to be speaking in front of the city council, and then I would reach out to them and ask them if they would have coffee with me. In the end, I ended up having 500 one-on-one coffees, just meeting with one person, only one voter at a time, over coffee, spending an hour, hour and a half talking about whatever they thought was going to be helpful for our city. So this young man was going to school at UTD, had spoken at the council, and about a week later, I was sitting down and having coffee with him. And his name was Muhammad Ikram. And he sat down and he had a big smile on his face. And he said, you know who I am? And I said, well, I saw you were speaking on the city council. And so I reached out to you and I was able to find you and I asked you a coffee. He goes, but do you know who I am? And I said, no, I know you're a student at UTD. I know you're in student government at UTD and you came to speak in front of the council. He said, well, my father, and he gave me his father's name. And I said, oh, I didn't realize you were his son. And he said, well, I thought maybe you were reaching out to me because of my father. He said, but it's kind of cool that you were reaching out to me just because of me, not because of my father. And I said, sure. And he said, do you know why I'm in student government? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, because of you. He said, I was a kid in 2009 when you became a council member. And I remember telling my father that I want to do what that guy is doing. And so here, 14 years, 15 years later, after that 2009 victory, in 2024, I'm sitting down and having coffee with someone who was only 6 or 7 years old when I won in 2009, who had carried the lesson of 2009 with him all the way until that moment. And that gives me an indication of just what this can mean when there is someone with a name like ours, with a face like ours, that is in a public position like a council seat. Now let me fast forward to today. My wife is very much into, she would love this property because of all this trees and the nature. And she actually went through something called Master Naturalist. It's a program you can go through to learn about all the different kinds of bugs and everything else that's out there. And she does some volunteering at a nature area in Plano, where many times there are students, oftentimes third graders, fourth graders, And there was a young boy named Omar that was in the group of third graders with her. And she was leading them through the woods and explaining to them, what you are looking at with the trees. And she leaned over to the boy and she said, you have my favorite name. And he said, oh, really? And she said, yes, except it's my husband's name, but it's his last name, not his first name. And he said, oh, what's his first name? And she said, well, his first name is Amir. And he said, you mean like the mayor? And she said, as a matter of fact, he is the mayor. And he was just so excited to be able to meet my wife, who happens to be married to the mayor. This gives you an idea, again, of what does this mean? What is the value? Why does it matter to have someone like us in these roles? And why it matters is a kid who maybe otherwise would never have thought anything about the possibilities of serving in this way, now has those kinds of thoughts, now has those kinds of feelings. I'm going to give one last story of something that's happened since I've been mayor. I had a group of young Muslim men, mostly teens, but some of them were college and a couple of them were young professionals. And they had come, asked for a meeting in my office. And they sat with me, and one of them started talking, and he was shaking, upset, and didn't know how to express what was going on. And he shared that they were praying outside of a restaurant over on the side, and that there was a gentleman who came and started yelling at them and, touching them on the head while they were praying and waving bacon, as if somehow we were going to melt if we saw bacon. But he was so disturbed, that people can treat other people like this, and that it would be okay, and that there was a concern also that there was something being announced. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't, in Plano, where they were going to come and do something that they were calling the Christmas Crusade, where they were going to come and demonstrate and make a big issue out of things. The fear of this awful Muslim community and all the bad things we must be doing. And although it was happening in Plano, as the news was increasing as to how big it could possibly be and how much of a following they would have, I spoke with my city manager, and we ended up having Richardson police supporting the Plano police in the different areas where they were going to be demonstrating. And in the end, you had so many of these students that were just thankful that they could even come and speak to someone in any kind of authority to be able to let them know their own story, their own concern, because they weren't sure that they were being listened to otherwise. And ultimately, the mayor of Plano, who's a good man, John Munns, ended up working very closely with me and with our police to be able to make sure that people would be safe during this demonstration. So I want to just finish by saying that the mayor's role in Richardson is an unusual one in two ways. One, our elections are very quick. Instead of most cities where they're every 3 years or every 4 years, they're every 2 years in Richardson. And the second, which is a positive, that one's a negative. The positive is where most mayors have a term limit of 8 years, Richardson has a term limit of 12 years. And although many times people from our community, we're an ambitious bunch, want to see someone win a city election and then the next day are hoping that you're going to run for governor. I have every intention of taking my time and just serving my community. And I'm going to be doing that for a few reasons. But the most primary one are the stories of the young people that I explained to you. I think if you can have someone that is not anxious to jump from being mayor to the next thing, but instead to just focus and do a good job and consistently do a good job, I think there is tremendous value to that as well. We want good people in Congress, and we want good people eventually in the governor's office and other places. But I think we can also have really good people that stay in the city level. That can be someone that can be known not just in Richardson, but also by young kids in Plano and in other cities around. So again, thank you so much for opening your home, for allowing us to be here, and for feeding us. And I appreciate all of you guys, and happy to also answer any questions if necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you. Well, the purpose of this gathering is obvious that you have heard both candidates. One of the main component of their campaign is money. If you don't have a money, there's no mission. And politics is something, especially at the rural level, it's a pro bono services to the community. They don't get compensated. I remember when I was speaking to my mayor in our city, he said the total compensation that they get for the whole year was not even $500. So I know Mayor Amar, he spends over 70 to 80 hours interacting with the communities, attending different events, going to the schools, universities, colleges, so that he can stay engaged with the community at the same time to serve in a full spirit. And we expect the same from our potential congressmen from this district as well. Nugent has spent over 20 years of his life serving our country. One thing that I always try to explain it to our community is that this is our country, this is our home. We need to invest in this country. We have, alhamdulillah, been blessed that we have produced a lot of doctors, engineers, professors, scientists, entrepreneurs, businessmen, lawyers. We have excelled in every field. One thing that we were lacking was having honest, good, hardworking people at the public office. And that's what we want to make sure that once they go out there and serve, so we can hold them accountable. Accountable in a way that these people who are throwing trash on our face, as American, as citizen of this country, which has no basis, lies. In congressman from this district is one example. Same thing is happening in our districts. Both are fighting and using Islamophobia, Sharia law, and all those nonsense that doesn't even exist. There are no bases, no foundations. I wish there were real issues that they would have addressed it, we would have come to that. So for that, we need to have candidates who are serving our country, serving the interests of the people, not subservient to the foreign agents. That's what the goal is. So the floor is open for the question answers. Before I do that, we really owe a great deal of appreciation and thanks to Dr. Razi for opening up his door, giving us the food, and our sisters as well. Jazakallah khair for hosting us. So the floor is open for the Q&A. And then once the floor is open, I would love to have you guys open your pockets, wallets, checkbooks, credit cards, anything and everything. Please feel free to ask any questions. This is the time to ask questions.
I have a question. I know that I expect that what you are saying is when you get elected, you will say no to war. We will not send our young men and women to foreign lands to fight for other countries' causes, and you will call a genocide a genocide. But as I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but I am a mother of a special needs son who has severe medical conditions. The healthcare here is terrible. When I meet my sister who is in England, they have so much better healthcare. I don't know. It is unimaginable to think that this is the most powerful country in the world. But if you go to McKinney Medical Center for an emergency, they treat you in the triage area, and then you have to wait for 2 to 3 hours to ship the patient if he's serious to UT Southwestern or Parkland. They don't have the specialty doctors there. There was once when my son was seizing, and they said that they are rationing diazepam. Okay, so they had already given him one dose, they cannot give him another dose. And he was almost ending up on status epilepticus and going on ventilator. So what if you get elected, what are you going to do about the healthcare? That's my one question. The other is education. It's terrible. My oldest is 29, my youngest is 20. I have seen the education deteriorating from him to my baby. It's bad. It's really bad. The teachers don't teach anything because they are not paid properly. They're, I don't know what's happening. Like my youngest child, she's an artist, but and my sister's child is also an artist, but she's in England. Teachers over there do help you. Over there, they just send you. This is the assignment. Go look up. These are the sites you look up, and that's it.
Okay.
So these, other than the war, this is the two main concern for me as a mother of 4 children.
Okay. You had several questions in there, and I'll unwind each one. No, I can get.
Can
Okay.
I just, before you answer, I just want to add one thing to final. Healthcare, I'm a physician, and I think I've been working here since 1992 in US, and I think the healthcare is becoming an industry that is totally business oriented, and like the people, their health has become secondary. I mean, I see it every day in around me. So that's what my concern is. That
Okay.
becoming a business rather than a service.
So there's three questions: medical, education, and war. So the first one, medical. My wife just started full time as a nurse at Medical City. So if you ever find yourself there, give me a call. I'll personally take care of you. She's an operating room nurse. It may not be with the ER stuff. And I don't know anything about medicine, but my wife's an operating room nurse, so she's starting there. Second was education. I'm familiar with the special education IEP situation. My oldest daughter had an IEP. I ran for school board and I had issues with them. I even sued them and had a settlement for what they did with the special education. And I don't know about this district, but I've seen other districts where the superintendents, they're embezzling the IEP funds
Yes.
through their lawyers. And they one kid, they sued spent $2 or $3 million of legal fees to prevent a special needs kids from getting educational benefits of like $10,000 or $20,000. And then I was very easily able to see that they're clearly stealing the money. I hear stories of the superintendent's got horses, ranch, nice cars. Like, okay, that's how they're stealing them. They're literally stealing the money. And I learned all this with my advocacy. I ran for school board, city council. So I don't think it happens here, but it was pretty egregious in California. Hope that answers your question. So I will be very hands-on, and this is my community too. So I will go to school board meetings with you. Though I won't have any authority as a congressman, you bring a congressman with you, they will listen. And if there's anything illegal happening where they're stealing of funds, bribery, which I've seen at city councils, I know someone that got put in prison for that. People make complaints. I can make sure the federal investigators dig into that and they take that complaint seriously. And the FBI will investigate and prosecute politicians. Two off the top of my head, I know went to prison for this kind of thing. I know one, Andrew Doe, he's serving 5 years. He was a county judge in California. The other one was Melhat Rafi was her name. She's doing 6 months in federal prison for bribing the Irvine City Council. The last part of your question was AIPAC and war. This is very personal to me as I've lost friends. My best friend, James, best man at wedding, died a horrible death from the Iraq war, 5 tours, and lost a lot of friends. And it wasn't our war. It had nothing to do with us. We were lied to. And I am not going to do anything to support any more foreign wars. No AIPAC, no Israel, no money going overseas, no evil, period, over my dead body. I don't care what they do to me. I don't care the hits. I don't care what they say about Fox News. I will vote no. So I hope that answers your question. No more wars. No more of that. If they invade us, sure. If another country tries to land boats in Florida and try to invade us, maybe then we could do something. But we should not be in foreign entanglements, sending our money overseas and killing each other over this nonsense. Does that answer all of your questions, ma'am? I hope.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The only thing, the health is like,
Oh, healthcare.
how are you? I think we need more funds.
Yes, I have made several campaign videos, and I plan to stick to it. That I'm not going to send any more vote to send any money overseas while people here need healthcare. We should not be subsidizing Israeli healthcare. They have free healthcare.
Yes.
Why don't we? And we have a defense budget now. They call it Department of War, $1.5 trillion. I don't know how much it costs to give us free healthcare, but it can't be that expensive. That's just 1 year, right? So yeah, I would need you guys' help too once I get in office. One thing that everyone says clearly to me is say no to APAC, no to sending money overseas. Everyone agrees on that. But these other things like a healthcare bill, I'm not an expert in that. So, you would have me in Congress, you can come visit me and tell me what to do, really. And remember, I'm not a leader, I'm a representative. You tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Can I suggest you something? There are several think tanks in our country, about more than 2,000 of them. Their mere job is to do research and come up with the ideas that is beneficial for our country. All we need to do is to reach out to them. The Obamacare, it was primarily something that was originally made and presented to the Republicans, but they never availed it. The problem is our focus is shifted. We have a plan in place, we have money in our account, but the priorities are not there. So once we put that into priority, you can bring the bills in the Congress and get other congressmen to rally it up.
I love the support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have.
I work in ER and I see more and more people are dropping insurances because they can't afford. And the people are coming to emergency room for the common problems that they should not be coming to emergency rooms. And they should be actually going to primary care physicians, but they are losing insurances. Insurance becoming very high. It is, and really feel sorry for the people who can't afford to have insurance.
Yeah.
I didn't have it for 25 years.
Yeah, so
I mean, I'm not paying $900 a month.
yeah, I think we do have the money for healthcare if we just stop sending it overseas and letting people steal it.
Yeah.
So
Anyone else have any question?
So I have two questions, one for the esteemed mayor and one for our hopeful next congressman. We'll start with Mr. Elmer first. While I sympathize with like this notion of we need more identity-driven candidates in office who young people can look at as an aspirational goal that if he's a Muslim he can get elected, I'm a Muslim and I can get elected. There's definitely some benefit to that. What I worry about though is that when we depend too much on identity-driven politics, where I'm a Muslim, you're a Muslim, give me your vote, right? But that ends up, what it ends up doing is I think it pigeonholes us in the wider spectrum of discourse, right? Like when the rest of the community, because Richardson isn't just Muslims, right? Although if you go near IANT, you'd think otherwise. But Richardson is a diverse community of peoples, right? When the Muslim candidate rides on this thing that I'm a Muslim, so vote for me, right?
Yeah.
It kind of closes the doors to this wide-ranging discourse of, well, who are the people of conscience, right? Who are the people who have good ideas?
Yep.
Who are going to build a community that doesn't just serve Muslims or doesn't just protect one minority, it protects everybody, right? So how do you plan on creating a dialogue that stretches beyond just identity?
Yeah.
And kind of tells people that I am a Muslim, but what's special about me is not that I'm a Muslim. What's special about me is the ethics that Islam gives me. And those ethics are what I can carry into everyday politics.
Yeah.
The willingness to not lie, the willingness to be transparent, the willingness to be empathetic towards other communities, the willingness to be open and allow different points of view to enter the room. So I guess that's my question for you, and then afterwards.
Yeah. So thank you for the question. And I apologize if I somehow created the notion that being Muslim had anything to do with my campaign, because it didn't. I had 150 volunteers that were a part of my campaign. There were 5 Muslims. 150 volunteers and 5 Muslims. As far as Islamic, Muslims that live in Richardson, there are 78,000 registered voters in the city of Richardson. Richardson is about 120,000 total people. 78,000 to 80,000 registered voters. Of those, maybe 3,000 are Muslim. 3,000 have names that could possibly be Muslim. There is a Coptic church in the middle of Richardson that has Arab Christians that attend it. And so some of the names that could be Muslim actually happen to attend the Coptic church and therefore are not. So religion has had nothing to do with the way that I've run my position. I focused a little bit on those issues in this room because to some degree I would imagine that you might be curious. So I indicated that in 2009, when I got elected through 2013, 2 terms, that one of the things that had happened was all the scary things they said about me didn't end up happening. In 2009, they were certain that I was going to have the call to prayer across all of Richardson, that every woman would have to wear hijab. And yet, by the time I was complete with my 2 terms in 2013, the Dallas Business Journal had an image of me that I still use sometimes on my in my social media, of me carrying a shovel, and I'm standing and walking through the woods with a group of volunteers. Some of them are holding shovels as well. And the bottom description, you grew up here? You grew up here?
Yeah.
Okay. The bottom description called me a mere Appleseed. So there's an American story of Johnny Appleseed that planted trees all over the country and became famous for planting trees. And here they were referring to me in terms that are the most American terms, and only those who grew up in this country probably know the story, right, or even would relate. So everything about the service that I've had, both when I was a council person and now as mayor, has been 100% about the community. Has been about the general population. The thing that more people know about me today as mayor is that I'm eating every couple weeks with a new resident in a new restaurant, showcasing different restaurants in Richardson. To date, not on purpose, but just no one has volunteered. There have been no Muslims that I sat down and ate with in these meals with the mayor, and only one Middle Eastern restaurant thus far that was selected by the foodie that said it was their favorite restaurant. So I say these things to hopefully give you a little bit of comfort that although it is a part of my identity, and although there are young people who may recognize me as the person that I am and the faith that I have, they also hopefully will get a lesson, those that are able to watch it a little bit more closely, that my service is not in the context of forcing my religion or showcasing my religion up front. It's just something that happens to be. So I hope that helps, but that's the context of what my service has been thus far. This coming year, I started off with meals with the mayor, but I'll begin doing small business showcases and highlights where I'll be interviewing different business people around Richardson, some of which may happen to be Muslim and many of which will happen to not be Muslim. I spend a tremendous amount of time in the schools. Just yesterday, I started the morning at Berkner High School at their pep rally. In the middle of the day, I did 2 tapings of Meal with the Mayor, which are students from Richardson High School, and then ended the day with a play at Pierce High School. And so you are seeing my face, you're seeing my presence over and over again, not just at the masjid, which, by the way, before the taping of the Meal with the Mayor, I was at Jummah prayer, but you see me all around the community, doing the things that I do, and doing it not in exclusively Muslim circles. So I hope that's helpful. But yeah, I apologize, and I'll correct my approach to the initial comments. But I never want to leave you with the impression. And I will tell you, each of the different candidates that I've assisted. I mentioned Owais Siddiqui. I mentioned Shahid Shafi. In every one of their cases, I first had to dispel them of the notion that, oh, if all the Muslims show up, I get elected. Well, that doesn't happen. And I needed 13,000 votes to get elected in my race. There were at maximum 1,000 names like ours that voted. So that's not even a tenth of the voters that showed up. And I will assure you this, I did not win 100% of those votes. there was a good group of people within even our own community that still supported the guy who was the former mayor. And that's okay too. He was a nice guy. But so there was no gimme as far as that's concerned. And I agree with you 100% that you shouldn't just vote for someone because they happen to be Muslim. Last thing I'll say, we have a few, you know a lot of them, but we have a few local PACs that are focused on helping Muslim candidates. Okay, you gotta help candidates, and there are people who focus on Latino candidates or, former military candidates. Why not Muslim candidates? But one of the suggestions I've made to the leadership of each of those groups is maybe we should vet some of these people before we start supporting them. And I've offered my services for free. I've said, listen, find me a person that understands politics and happens to understand, the Muslim community, that might be better suited to give you an education. They supported in that last election when I ran, I think it was 14 maybe Muslim candidates, and one won. And you're looking at him. So we need to vet our candidates. We need to encourage them to do more work before they run for office. I'll say that too. Shahid Shafi, and I think he gets a little bit embarrassed whenever I mention this, so please don't repeat it to him. But when I met with him the first time, it was February of the year that I met with him, and he wanted to run for city council in May. We were sitting in a room in his living room like this, and I started asking him questions. Tell me about some of your credentials in Southlake. Oh, well, I'm a physician, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but how have you served the community? Well, I've served by being a physician. Said, okay, but what other organizations are you a part of? Well, I'm not a part of any of those. Well, are you part of the Rotary Club, or are you doing anything with your neighborhood association, or have you been through Leadership Southlake? No. And I told him, I said, look, Dr. Shafi, if you decide to run, I will give you as many hours as you need from me so that I can give you the coaching that you need, because you seem like a very credible, and he's a very smart guy if you have never met him. But my advice to you is wait at least 1 year. But during that year, you must do a lot of things to be able to get true connections to your city so you can be a credible candidate. At that moment, he did what many of our uncles do. Please, if you don't mind covering your ears, brother. He kind of was sitting next to the table, and he hit the table with his hand, and he said, if every time someone told me I couldn't do something, I would never have become a physician, and I would never blah, 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 blah. And the next day he called me and he apologized. I told him there's no need to apologize. And he said, I'm going to wait 1 year, and I would like you to come back to my home and let's start talking about what the strategy is. And we began working together, and he ended up losing that race, but his loss was the closest to victory we had ever had other than my race when we won. It was like a 60-40 race. And immediately he began continuing the work that we talked about, and a year later he got elected. So I say all that to say, I'm very much in tune with what your remarks are, and I agree with them wholeheartedly. And I think that it's important that we make sure we've got the right candidates if they happen to be Muslim, because a bad candidate can also do damage if you're saying the wrong things, if you're saying things that are not intelligent. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
So I have just one piece of advice to both candidates. If you're in a fundraising and you're looking for money, make sure that you don't call anybody auntie or uncle.
Oh, my apologies. I always think of it as respect. I'm so glad I didn't say auntie. I only said uncle. And he smiled when I said it. So you got a question for Mark?
Yes. Mark, so I have personally participated in 3 national level elections, right, where I cast a vote. I think now, I would hope that I have a little bit more, or a little bit less, I should say, naivete, than I did when I was 18 and in college. Back then, I thought that when you cast a vote, you're casting a vote between two different ideologies. The last three elections that I've seen, Clinton Trump, Trump Biden, Trump Harris, right? It's not about ideologies anymore because everybody is funded by the same corporate interests. Everybody, I don't think it's much use anymore, to be honest, to look at a map of the Congress and say, this is how many red seats we've got, this is how many blue seats we've got. What you should actually be looking at, 90% of the seats have some kind of foreign funding or some kind of foreign agenda. That being said, how do we break this duopoly of two parties that are essentially selling us the same sauce in different bottles?
Okay, so it's actually worse. When you talk about AIPAC and foreign funding, there's only one congressman that doesn't, and that's Thomas Massey. Even the Muslim members of Congress, they take AIPAC money. It is, you're right, it's illusion, left versus right, but it exists. And when you talk about the Republicans and Democrats, when it comes to things that matter, like foreign policy and war and spending, they're lockstep. There is no difference. There's no air between them. And that's what you're talking about. Because you're like the disillusion, but then when it comes to funding a genocide, which breaks my heart, they're funding the wrong side. They're against humanity. So how do we break it? I will go to Congress and I will sit there. I'll be the target, and I will vote no, and I will influence other members of Congress to join me. That's how we break it, in my opinion. And will I fix this in 2 years, 6 years, 10 years? Probably not. I just can move the needle 1 inch, and that's it. That's the best I can hope for. And while I'm in DC, influence others. That's about it. It's unfortunate.
If I may jump in, as kind of, I'll take off my mayor hat and just talk about political strategy. There's two pieces to this, which is why I spend so much time talking about the youth. We all want, every one of us that doesn't want war, that doesn't want a genocide, that doesn't want these kinds of things that we're seeing. We all want a solution that starts tomorrow. And the truth is that any real solution is going to be 20 years from today, not tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, you could have a single victory that sends a single message, right? So let's see, watching our brother Mark be able to get out there and succeed without taking AIPAC money, without, that is an indication that you can actually win without AIPAC money and without doing those things, right? But the truth is you have to work probably a generation ahead. My interest in youth, my interest in making sure that we're connecting with young folks is because AIPAC didn't just happen overnight. It happened over decades, right? Today, we're talking about AIPAC as if AIPAC was invented yesterday. But AIPAC has been doing what they've been doing consistently for decades, and now they get the fruit from the tree.
May I offer a counter?
Sure.
AIPAC didn't reach the levels of success, like in terms of materially measurable success within a short period of time. They've invested heavily into the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But what did happen overnight was the institutionalization of this structure. They all came together to form this one thing, one agenda, and they stuck by it for decades.
Yeah.
Right? Why haven't we been able to institutionalize in that way? Why do we constantly either define ourselves by our allegiance to one camp or the other in an election cycle? This time we're Republicans because Republicans are the good guys. This time we're Democrats because Democrats guilted us into not being with quote unquote racists on the other side, right? Anytime there's this, even a hint of like, well, let's throw our support behind the Green Party, right? Or let's create a new party, right? Or let's try to break this duopoly on a national scale by heavily investing into these structures. Not the candidates will come. The structure comes first, right? The structure of funding, the structure of mass mobilization. Why are we not creating those structures?
Yeah. I will do this without using the word uncle.
Yeah. You can use Bible.
What I will say is this. as a community, and now I'm just speaking Muslim community, as a community, we are very intelligent and very proud individually people. And so Brother Mujeeb may have a pack and he's trying to, let's say, start the next APAC. And I look at it and I say, well, I need to be the chief. So I'm going to be making my pack. And then another brother is going to decide that they're going to be the chief and they're going to, and instead of working together, oftentimes we've got all these siloed efforts, which create all these different groups that all think that they've got some sort of magic sauce as opposed to working together. So that is problematic. I will say that. The best thing that we can do, unless we can come up with some special way to get all these groups to get together and all work together as opposed to each having their own silo, the best thing we can do is we can determine how, in a regional way, we can build success. Now, to me, what that looks like is growing a generation of public service minded young people that see that as a way that they should be giving back to their community, as opposed to just scholastics, which are important. And we should focus on getting behind quality candidates, regardless of party, but quality candidates that could potentially send a message by way of their victory. And then the best hope we have is regionally, you get local officials that care about what you care about, and enough of them in the different cities to where they recognize that that's the right thing to do. And then you start getting some state reps and Congress people. It doesn't change the country overnight. It's a 20-year process. And in an ideal world, you succeed, let's say, in North Texas, and then you find a way to succeed somewhere in Chicago, and then somewhere in the Northeast, and then somewhere on the West Coast. And now you might have a better chance of getting a group together that is connecting all these dots. So we can all wish and we can all have ideas of how we can fix the national problem, but the problem, in my opinion, is way too big for this room to fix. But what this room can do is make sure that when you've got a quality candidate, you figure out how to go support that person. When you have a quality person in office, you figure out how to support that person, and you think in terms of how we solve this in 20 years versus how we fix this tomorrow.